Morning, guys. Morning. Wonderful morning this morning. I hope you're having a wonderful morning as well. I promised you guys a goated video, right? This isn't quite a goated video. It's really hard to do greatest of all time because when you start to deal with like of all time, you're talking classics, everything. It's really hard. But I do have 5 books here that I will accept 0 criticism on. And I've seen this video on TikTok and I was like, I have to do this video. It is 5 books. I don't care. I don't want to hear it. Some of them are controversial. And I'm going to kind of go into why I feel that way about them. Okay? This is not full series. Okay? And I also limited myself to 2 Brandon Sanderson novels. I said I was going to limit myself. You will see that there's no Mistborn on here and there's no Stormlight on here. The reason for that is, even though I think Words of Radiance is absolutely one of the GOATs, it's not quite as good without Way of Kings. Because it's, like I said, the quintessential book too. So I just, for a solitary book, these are the 5 that I went with. So I didn't do any books where you have to, well, the first book is in a series. But I didn't do books that I felt like the rest of the series makes it what it is. And I'm going to explain that a little bit further. So, my first book is a great example of that. It's Sarah J. Maas. And it is book 1, House of Earth and Blood. Okay? Now, let me explain to you why I picked this book when I have a full shelf of Sarah J. Maas over there. First of all, this is Crescent City, first book. The world building in this book, I think, is her best. Throne of Glass is amazing as an 8-book series, but you have to get everything for it to really be amazing, if that makes any sense. It's not amazing in book, 1. Assassin's Blade isn't amazing. Throne of Glass isn't amazing. It's that quintessential whole 8 books together. The story, the character development, the build up, the new characters that enter the chat, and the meaning behind like everything, how everything's interconnected, the struggle that Aelin goes through. You need all 8 books to fully appreciate that. And let's all call a spade a spade. A Court of Thorn and Rose's first book is shit. Okay? I did not like Tamlin. I know why there has to be the Farrah Tamlin thing to more appreciate book 2, etc. But I hate a series where you have to tell people, read this series, but it doesn't get good until book 2. Book 1 is not that good. I don't like that. So that's why I didn't go with A Court of Thorn and Roses, guys. I went with Crescent City. Because from the first time I picked up this book, so I read, the order that I read Sarah J. Maas in is I read all of ACOTAR up through, I think it was Frost and Starlight at that time. And I was like, this is really good. I like this author. Then I saw that there was 2 other series. This book had come out, but book 2 in Crescent City had not come out. It was getting ready to come out like that month. I read Assassin's Blade from Throne of Glass. And I was like, not sure. They killed my favorite character in the prequel. Not sure if this is for me. So I put Throne of Glass on hold. This book 2 was coming out like the next week. So I was like, let me give Crescent City a try. And I binged this whole book in a day and a half. And immediately purchased book 2. Immediately purchased book 2 and read that book in like a day and a half. Crescent City changed the way I consumed adult fantasy. I got so into the realm and the characters and everything. I have a notebook keeping track of the different characters and like types of people, and it's a lot. The various cultures. I have a whole notebook on Crescent City. Crescent City is my favorite SJM world. Now, once again, I think Throne of Glass is better as a whole, as an 8-book whole. But I'm sorry, this book did something for me. This book did something for me. I lied. I have 6 books that I refuse to accept nothing bad about. I'll tell you why, because when I went to tell you the description of this one, I was like, I didn't grab that book. So I'm going to have 6. But Outlander. Outlander. This is my very loved paperback. Why do I love Outlander so much? So I can remember where I was the moment I read Outlander for the first time. I was 19 years old. I was living in Germany. I had a friend in Canada who sent me a care package. And in that care package was VHSs. I know I'm old, guys. VHSs of a Canadian TV hockey show that she had taped for me. It was like, it was kind of like, I forget what it was called, but it was like The Ultimate Fighter, The Contender, but for NHL players. It was a reality show where they lived together and completed challenges. I think it only aired in Canada. And that's why she was the one who taped and sent it to me. And I was really in my hockey phase. Miracle came out that year. And I've always been a big Detroit Red Wings fan, and they still had a really great team at that time. I was a hockey girl, and so she sent me those VHSs. Shout out to Sam. Sam was my friend on LiveJournal, guys, and she was amazing as a friend in a time when I really, really needed a friend. So she sent me that, and she sent me a paperback copy of Outlander. And she was like, you have to read this. It's freaking amazing. This was many moons before the TV show on Stars. And I read this book. And I laughed. I cried. I became obsessed. Obsessed with Outlander. I read it probably 6 times back to back to back. I wasn't, at this time in my life, I was about 19 years old, 18, 19 years old. I was not actually a huge reader at this point in time. I was hanging out with kind of like the wrong group of friends there in Germany who were partying a lot. And I was partying a lot too. And I just wasn't doing my whole reading thing right then. I had taken kind of a bit of a break. But this Outlander really, really got me back into it. I've not felt the feelings that that book gave me in a very long time. This next book is very controversial. And I get it. Is it the best written piece of fiction ever? Absolutely not. But are the vibes immaculate? Do I remember not being able to get this book out of my freaking noggin? When this book, I read it in April of 2020. Holy cow. I guess it was 3. It feels like way longer ago. But I read this book in April of 2023. And I remember you could not find physical copies of it. I went on a manhunt. I bought it on my Kindle, read it on my Kindle. I was like, I have to have a physical copy. I have a whole videos on this channel about me manhunting a copy of this book, a physical copy. Could not find them at any store. Could not order them online. They were back ordered for months. Oh my God, it was a nightmare. Now I own 3 beautiful copies. And I'm very grateful. This is one of my favorites. It's, of course, Fourth Wing. Once again, is it the best piece of written literature that ever was? No. but it became a cultural phenomenon. And those feelings of, I remember the hunting for the book. I have all the pretty copies. The feeling when I finished this book. I could not stop thinking about, I had the worst reader's block where I couldn't read anything else. I read it like 3 times that month because I couldn't read anything else. Nothing else gave me these feelings, and I didn't get into it like I got into this book. I'm telling you, there was some crack in this book, because I know it's not the best written book, but I won't hear anything bad about it, because this made me feel something in 2023, 2-3 years into a pandemic, where I didn't think anything could make me feel at that point. That's how I feel about Animal Crossing New Horizon. My husband's like, how are you still playing this game? Your island is done. There's nothing to do. You keep restarting and doing new islands and finishing those. Because when that game came out in 2020, when I played that game during the height of the pandemic, it was the only thing I was holding on to at that time, okay? And it's nostalgic for me. It brings me back to that place, I guess. Okay. We've got 2 Brandon Sandersons here. I told you, I'm not doing Stormlight or Mistborn because I think those books are better appreciated as a whole, as a series. Yeah? Does that make sense? I think it does. Yes, they are great, but on their own, they are better when you have all the other information and tidbits that are given to you in all of the books, right? Though I do think Way of Kings is a great book, and it hooked me and made me read a lot of pages to finish out Stormlight. I just think these 2 are my favorites, and that's going to be my babies. These are my children. I got these from Dragonsteel Publishing, which is Brandon Sanderson's own publishing company. This was a gift. It's the best gift I've ever been given. Shout out to Caleb he's at Superhero Homies now. So if you want to listen to and watch his content, he and Ace are incredible over at Superhero Homies. He gave me Warbreaker, and it started my addiction. It started my addiction for a lot of things. I didn't have a lot of specialty books until this book. Now I have a shit ton. And I just think they're beautifully written. I think they are incredible. This was my favorite book of last year. I ordered this one for Christmas for myself because I needed the pretty copy. I think this is just a stunning book. It is so unbelievably good. It is adventure and mischief and hijinks and oh God, I love these 2 books. I just cannot even tell you how much I love these 2 freaking books. They mean the world to me, and I will hear no bad things about them. Now, let me grab the last and 6th book I want to talk about. You guess what it's going to be. I did not originally grab it because I was like, I don't know. I don't have the pretty copies, and I really want them. But I have a movie copy. And that is this baby right here. Lord of the Rings. Let me tell you a tale. Let me tell you a tale of Lord of the Rings and Lauren. Picture it. Year probably 2001. Lauren is 15, 16 years old. And Lauren is grounded at her dad's house. Don't know a lot of people here. He doesn't live in the same town as my mom, where I normally am, where all of my friends are. And it's summer. And it is dragging on because I'm grounded. And cell phones weren't huge back then. Even if I had a cell phone, I probably would have had it taken away. And I just got nothing to freaking do, guys. I am bored out of my mind. My little brother and I have watched enough PBS to choke a chicken. And I just can't do it anymore. And my dad and my stepmom have a bookshelf. And on that bookshelf is Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, among other books. And so 15, 16-year-old Lauren, I can't remember if I was 15 or 16. I think I was 15. Picks up The Hobbit. And my dad had no issues even if I was grounded with me reading. Like, that was okay. And I binge read The Hobbit. And I was like, I really like this. But I remember I was intimidated by The Lord of the Rings. I was like, that's a big old honking book. But I picked it up, and from the opening chapter, I was obsessed. Like, obsessed with this book. I wrote Aragorn fan fiction. I was obsessed. My 16th birthday party, we went and saw Pearl Harbor, and Josh Hartnett kind of like took over for a little while. So I had to have been 15. But I can vividly remember before the Josh Hartnett obsession, the Lord of the Rings obsession was strong in me. Strong. It was one of those things where I couldn't think about anything else. I wrote my own Lord of the Rings world stories just because, like, I wanted to live there in Middle-earth. I didn't want to live where I was. You know what I mean? So that book helped me probably through the hardest time of my life, which was my elder teenage years. Not for any particular reason other than just, I think everybody is confused and angry and frustrated at 15, 16, 17 years old. You feel like an adult, but you have no power. You think you know everything. You know nothing. As the mother of a 15-year-old, I 100% wish she could find something like Lord of the Rings to guide her. But alas, she is not really a reader. I digress. That's it. That's my 6 books, you guys. We have House of Earth and Blood. We have Outlander, Fourth Wing, Warbreaker, and Tress of the Emerald Sea, and Lord of the Rings. I don't give a fuck if you don't like them. I don't want to hear about it. That is kind of where I am with those 6 books. They are 6 of my favorite books of all time. 6 books that I do not want to hear bad things about. I will fight to the death for all 6 of those books. And yeah, I'm so glad that you guys are here. And thanks for liking, subscribing, commenting. They're probably not shocking surprises to anybody. Anybody who watches my channel even a little bit probably could have named those 6 books for you. They're all pretty much fantasy. I guess Outlander's kind of fantasy. It's got that time travel aspect to it. It's probably more historical romance, so. But, yeah. I love my romantasy, you guys. I do. Or fantasy. But, yeah. If you have your go-to books that you will hear no bad things about, drop them in the comments for me. I'd love to pick them up if I haven't read them. So, yeah. Love you guys so much, and I hope you are having an outstanding week. I probably won't see you again until next week, but we'll see. I'm doing a beautiful charcuterie board for a at-home date night this weekend. I may bring you along for that, but I love you. Bye.